Good time of day, guys. My name is Godzi, and welcome back to another episode of Higurashi When They Cry, Ch.5 Meakashi. Last episode, Shion got very mad at Kimiyoshi for calling Satoshi a brat. And yeah, it's been a week since last episode, I realize. I apologize. It's just, lots of shit happens, and that's just how the cookie crumbles. But, since it's been so long, another episode of Go was aired in between last episode and this one. So although this will be going up on a fucking Tuesday, and, we'll still have one more episode, at least assuming I record it on time, before the next episode of Go airs. But regardless, we're gonna, first, before we talk about the new episode of Go, we're going to talk about the one beforehand a little bit because I got some comments a few episodes ago that I've wanted to discuss, but I didn't do it last episode just because I didn't really feel like talking about Go yet. But now I feel like I probably can, at least a little bit. So we're going to, first off, go into Go spoiler time. So, yeah, if you don't want spoilers, then don't. That's all I really gotta say about that. Just don't and don't. So, menu time. Let me find the video, because apparently the list I had was frickin' bugged. Right here, wrong video. This one. Okay. My god, why the fuck are the... Okay, I guess I have to go to the actual video. Apologies. But that's how it'll have to be. Where are the comments now? My god. There they are. Okay. Thank you. Here we go. So, first things first. We've gotten a comment from Emilio C. Hearn. Or Hearn. I don't exactly know how it's pronounced, but regardless. Which goes, you need to finish Phase 1 Caconia. It's amazing. I do plan to. And I've heard it's really good. I just haven't gotten around to it yet, sadly. But I will do it eventually. Second part of the comment says, and I'm like you on the Satsuko and Rika thing. I don't like any of them right now, but it seems that they're gonna reveal more things in the next episode. Also, we don't know who the fuck is Mitsuyo, lol. So yeah, you kinda called it, I guess. They did reveal more stuff. Like, exactly how freaking dedicated Satsuko is to getting this shit done, which I'll talk about more in a few minutes. But, yeah, it's a really hard freaking, like, before last episode, it was definitely a very, difficult, difficult thing to take sides between Satsuko and Rika. Although, to be fair, I think it's probably best to not take either. Even now. Like, because they're both fucked up in their own special ways. I'd say, like, Satsuko is more the victim than Rika is. At least at that point in the story. At least at the point of, episode... It was 21? I want to say? I'm pretty sure it was episode 21. I actually have to check, though. Yeah, it was episode 21. Yeah, like, my god. Satsuko was more of a victim, at least up until the last scene with the chandelier. Because, like, once she did that, it's just like, well, now they're fighting each other, you know? It's not just Satsuko being a victim anymore. She's fighting back now, which is, I'm gonna say, a good thing. I don't really think it's my place to say how far a fictional character who can loop through time is going, as far as getting her revenge, question mark, or at least fulfilling her wish, fulfilling her desires, achieving her goal, you know. But, yeah. As for the thing about Mitsuyo, yeah, I had assumed that was, Takano's real name. But I had to look it up. It is not. It's, Miyoko, not Mitsuyo. So, whoops. I completely looked over that when I first watched the episode, so... Yeah, but, oh well. I don't know who it could be either. I've heard some people say somewhere, that Mitsuyo can also be transcribed as meaning 34. So, in some way, whoever this Mitsuyo is connected to Veer, Takano, Lambda Delta, and supposedly Satoko now. So, yeah, which brings me to our next comment from Tasty Nachos, who I was told, by Tasty Nachos, that this is the same person as Dapper Shinks. So, thank you. Although I did already know that, but that's fine. Comment goes, Mi is 3, Yo is 4. It's the kanji. Her grandfather is Hifumi. He is 1, Fu is 2, Mi is 3. Also, Satoko can be interpreted as 34. On the kana chart, equivalent to our alphabet, her first 2 characters, Sa and To, are in the 3rd and 4th columns, respectively. Ko just being a common ending to girl names in Japanese without the kanji for kid. So, Sato means 34, technically, or at least it can be interpreted as you say. So, yeah. Next part of the comment says, I have to side with Satoko. Even if she denied Rika's help studying, Rika should know she has trouble accepting help because of her past fucking abuse. Rika, what the fuck? You went through entire loops to break her out of that, and now you just forget. Jeez. Yeah, I do think, with that in mind, it does definitely make Rika a bit more fucked up. Of course, we don't really have the exact context to Satoko rejecting her help. So it could not at all have anything to do with it anymore, since, technically speaking, Satoko hadn't been abused for 10 years, I want to say. Of course, that doesn't change shit. Like, as someone who hasn't been abused in my life, I don't know how it feels, or even if you've frickin' died before, if it still affects you. You know, kind of a weird thing, so I'm not really gonna put my foot in the ring there because not my place to speak. But it definitely does make Rika look worse. I'll say that much, at least. I still think it's, you know, a conflict that it's impossible to take sides and be morally just, because neither of them are. Like, yeah, Rika's being an absolute dickhead to her friend because she can't think of things from her perspective because all the time loops she's been through, she's very jaded at that point and just wants to get away from Hinamizawa. Understandable to that point, but she's ignoring other people in order to make it happen, and she's lying to get there. So, yeah. As for Satoko, though, I'm sure there are better ways to go about it than looping through time and constantly killing your best friend, but I digress. Again, not my place to really say anything. So, yeah. Last part of the comment says, I hope we lead into a proper adaptation for Umineko with some Go tie-ins, like a New Game Plus. I think that'd be super cool. I agree, actually. How do I fully explain this, though? I feel like it'd be a little weird at first, if that were to happen. Like, if we had behind-the-scenes stuff, or even if they more or less glazed over the first 2 arcs or something. Because, like, if we get an Umineko adaptation with Go tie-ins, I feel like that'd be cool, but I think it's more likely we'd get, like, Umineko behind the scenes or something. So, like, what's the word? A midquel to Umineko. So it's happening at the same time as Umineko, but it's not the same story being portrayed to us as Umineko. So, like, the main story of Umineko is happening in the background, but it's more focused on Burn Castle and Lambda Delta. I feel like if we were to get something like that, it'd be more like that. While I would love an actually good adaptation of Umineko, I don't think we'll necessarily get that. But it'd be cool. We could get an Umineko Go type thing where they do where Ryukishi tries to fuck with us even more and somehow change something that's like a standard, something standard about Umineko and flip it on its head in the same way he did that here with Higurashi, with making Satoko a looper and all. Like, I don't know how exactly he'd go about that. Maybe putting one of the other family members or servants in the same time loop as Battler, even though he's less in a time loop and more it's a metaverse type thing, you know? But still, meta world, sorry, that's the proper word. Metaverse was Persona 5. It gets confusing sometimes, you know? All these alternate worlds and all these anime games, you know? But I feel like it's possible that he could do something like that. Like if he decides, yeah, Umineko, but this time the culprit is not Sayo. It's instead, like, I don't fucking know. Let's just flip a coin, spin the fucking wheel. Let's make the culprit Kraus. For what reason? Find out by yourself, damn it. I don't fucking know. They could do a lot of things with it. Or he, you know. But, yeah, it's confusing to think of how When They Cry is going to continue from here on out. Which is why I feel like I need to finish Kikonia as soon as I can. And complete my refresher course of Higurashi with the visual novels. So, yeah. With that being said, though, let's jump into the new episode of Go, because I've been talking for 10 minutes already about the old about episode 21. To be fair, though, I don't really have much to say about this episode, other than, my fucking god, it was really good. I think overall, Satoko Washi has been my favorite arc in Go so far. Because, like, looking back so far right now, Onitamashi was good, and it was a good introduction, so I think it's overall a really good arc. But what happens? Like, it seems like most of the interesting stuff in the grand scheme of things is stuff that we didn't actually see as far as what happened in Onitamashi. Like, how Satoko and Rika died. I want to see that conversation. I want to see what happened there. But instead, it focuses on Keiichi and Rena, which is fine, but it's like, that's just Higurashi, but someone goes crazy again, you know? Same with Watanagashi. Watanagashi is at least a bit more interesting beyond all that, but still. I don't know, I just think Satoko Washi's been the most interesting arc so far, probably because it's been, like, all new things, and it hasn't just been, Rika's in a time loop, who goes crazy this time, you know? Because that's all it's been, technically, that's what it's been so far. Sure, Satoko Washi puts a bigger spin on things and gives a different interpretation to all those arcs and makes us think, what happened in Onitamashi? What did Satoko do to make Rena go crazy? What did she do in Watanagashi to make Mion go crazy? What about Tatari Damashi with Oishi? What about Nekodamashi, all those mini arcs? What did she do to make... God, I have to remember in order. Akasaka, Akane, Kimiyoshi, Keiichi. Herself, obviously, is herself, but yeah, what'd she do to them to make them go crazy? Is it Hinamizawa syndrome? Is it something else Featherin did to help her? What's going on here? So, yeah. As far as my general thoughts on the episode, though, it's really good. And I think I had to suspend my disbelief a little bit just because of, you know, the episode is 20 minutes long, so it feels like Satoko's in a downward spiral too fast. But then I remember it's like, oh, she's in these fucking at least year-long time loops. There hasn't been a single one of those so far where she killed herself before the shit with Takano, or hell, 1984 even. Like, so, yeah, so it's understandable how she goes in that massive downward spiral when all those subsequent arcs that are, not arcs, but loops that are more or less glazed over and just showing Satoko's suicides is, God, I lost my train of thought. You know what I mean. They're a year long each for her, so she's in this fucking year-long loop trying to make Rika give up on her dreams of going to St. Lucia. She fails, and she's like, ah, shit. Kills herself, tries again, kills herself in a more gruesome way, tries again, because it's like, when I think of it that way, it's easier to not have to suspend my disbelief, because the ways in which she ends up killing herself is more and more direct and on the spot than the last. Like, the chandelier was planned and was an instant death. Like, same with the car. Like, her jumping in front of the car, instant death. But then she cuts herself in the neck, and then she stabs herself in the throat with a pencil. And then she presumably drowns herself with Rika. She's getting more and more desperate and cares less about the pain that she deals with in death, because it's gone by the time she's dead anyways. So it's interesting to think of it that way, and I kind of got bamboozled at the end of episode 21. I thought with the chandelier, at that point, I thought, alright, now we're going basically back to episode 1, right? Or that chronologically, the next thing that happens is episode 1. But no, we had more, and I kind of appreciate that, because it makes Satoko more of a threat to Rika, too. Because, like, before Satoko Washi, at the end of Nekodamashi, when Satoko was fully revealed to be a looper, one of my immediate thoughts was, how long's she been looping for? Because she obviously has not been looping for as long as Rika, so is she really that much of a threat? It's been like 5-6 months, real time, throughout Nekodamashi so far, probably, right? No, Satoko's technically been looping for longer than Rika at that point in Go, which is really weird. Because it's like, chronologically, Rika's been looping for longer, but in terms of total time, Satoko has. So it's really interesting how that was done. However, it does also make me question exactly how Satoko experienced Rika's loops. When she went and experienced her century of loops, did she experience it through herself, but had no control over her actions? Did she experience it through Rika's eyes, but had no control over her actions? Did she experience it from a third-party point of view? Like a second version of herself, and she was watching from the sidelines, and maybe couldn't be seen by anybody else? Who knows? But I think it's probably, if any of those three options, because it could be something different, it's probably the third one. And my main piece of evidence for that is when Satoko went to where Satoshi was, and was basically just like, sorry, Oni-chan, but I'm different now. I'm tired of being nice, which was an unironically kind of funny scene to me, because that was just the only thing running through my mind. I'm tired of being nice. Time to go apeshit. But it is a good scene regardless. Like, I can still take it seriously. It's just funny to me. But, yeah. I don't really have much else to say, so I'll just say this one last thing. I think now, for real, we're probably caught up to the end of Nekodamashi. I feel like this might be all the exposition we get, and we're finally, like, we're probably gonna speed through some of, like, Onidamashi and Watanagashi and stuff like that, and see more specifically behind the scenes what happened, either before or after we catch back up to the end of Nekodamashi. Like, it'll either be, like, a series of just like a montage showing us what happened before we get back to the end of Nekodamashi, or we'll go straight to the end of Nekodamashi, and Satoko will explain what happened with, you know, exposition. So, yeah. That's about all I have to say, though, so let's get back into the game and read about how Shion continues her murderous rampage. Welcome back, guys. That was very long. Not as long as it has been in the past, but I digress. Let's begin. Hello! Kimiyoshi resident. Wait, oh no, this is a different Kimiyoshi. I'm an idiot. She should be speaking like Mion right now, right? I remember I ended in the middle of a chapter last episode because I got very tired, so, yeah. This is Sonozaki. So? Did you find the mayor? Oh, it's you, Mion-chan. We've been calling everyone, but no luck. We can't find him. I don't know who else to call. I wonder where he is. We've called a few places too, but nothing. I talked to Granny, and she says we should have the youth group look for him. At this time of day? Besides, we aren't even sure if he's really missing. It's right after Watanagashi. She just thinks we should be cautious. If the youth group can't find him, then we should call the police first thing in the morning. We'd rather not get the police involved unless we really have to, though. Did Oryo-san say that? Yes. If you don't believe me, I'll have her get on the phone. Oh, no! I understand. Okay, we'll gather the youth group and look for him. If they can't find him, we'll call the police in the morning. Please call the leader of the youth group, then. I'll be right over in Granny's place. Thank you. I'll get everyone together right away. Okay, see you later. The youth group had gathered at the Furude Shrine. They were going to try to find the mayor. I also had to go, in the absence of the hag. Just to be mean, I stopped by the underground torture room to let the mayor know that I was headed to the Furude Shrine to search for him. Incidentally, according to the tab on the keychain, this underground torture room was actually called the Underground Storehouse for Ritual Implements. This was the man who was yelling that whoever trespasses on the ritual storehouse should be killed. Although it was an underground ritual storehouse, he was there now, atoning for what he had done. It was pretty ironic. Maybe I was the only one who felt that way, though. How are you doing? Wait, Shion, right? How are you doing, Uncle Kimiyoshi? Clink. Kimiyoshi didn't say a word, but he made a noise with the chain. Everyone is making such a fuss because they can't find you. Your family called me, so I suggested they gathered a youth group to look for you. I'm heading over there now. Was this mean or what? Kimiyoshi could only make noise with the chain. He couldn't even express any emotion other than anguish. Is the chain too short? Why don't I make it longer every time you give me an answer to a question? If it's even a little longer, you'll feel better. Kimiyoshi's hands were tied behind his back with a tight wire. He was wearing a leather collar with a chain, which was strapped tightly around his neck, too. The collar's chain was on a pulley attached to the ceiling, with the chain pulling him up toward it. That chain was very short and pulled very tight. Kimiyoshi had to stand on tiptoes to be able to breathe. He had been like that for almost an hour already. He was already exhausted. If I left him overnight, he'd probably end up hanging himself. You told me earlier that you didn't know, but I'll ask you one more time. Please tell me anything you know about Satoshi Hojo-kun. Oh, sorry. You can't even talk, can you? I'll loosen the chain a little while we chat then. I turned the pulley just a little to loosen the chain that was pulling on Kimiyoshi's neck. Kimiyoshi's heels finally touched the ground, relieving the pressure on his muscles. I really don't know, Shion-chan. I really don't. Don't you even know if he's dead or alive? I really don't know anything. Well, I guess that's how the curse system of Hinamizawa works. It's possible you really don't know anything. Okay, then I'll change the question. As the head of the Kimiyoshi family, I would like you to tell me what you think has happened to Satoshi-kun. Is Satoshi-kun dead or alive? Kimiyoshi didn't know what to say. If he said he didn't know, I'd tighten the chain and leave the room. That'd be like a death sentence for him. But all I said was that I wanted him to speak as the head of the Kimiyoshi family. I didn't ask him to tell the truth. But he didn't know what to say to avoid souring my mood and to get me to loosen the chains around him. He was obviously trying to figure out how to make me extend the chain. I've heard a rumor that he may be alive. About him going to Tokyo on a bullet train, right? The police have seen him in Tokyo, or something like that. Oishi had told me that Satoshi-kun had been witnessed getting on a bullet train heading to Tokyo at Nagoya Station. But the police didn't know if that really happened, or what became of Satoshi-kun after that. Therefore, this was simply a random assertion of Kimiyoshi's. Hey, head of the Kimiyoshi family? What would be the point in letting one of the cursed family members live, after going through the trouble of making him disappear? I don't think there's any reason for that. Besides, who gave you this information? I was in close contact with Oishi for a while, but he never mentioned it to me. Uncle? If you're just saying that to make me happy, it's not going to work. You know that, don't you? I reached for the pulley controlling the chains around Kimiyoshi, and that act alone sent him panicking as he feared them tightening once more. Sorry! I'm not trying to make you angry, Shion-chan. I'm sorry.
I don't have time for this. I'm simply asking you to help me look for Satoshi-kun. That's all.
I know. I know that. I'll answer you. I took my hand off the pulley. Seeing that, Kimiyoshi began making loud groaning noises to try and show he was thinking hard.
Be frank with me. Do you think he is alive or dead?
I think... You shouldn't think he is alive.
That figures. There was no point in letting him live, right? I agree with you.
I really didn't mean anything too deep by it, but what I said truly scared Kimiyoshi.
The police think he ran, using the money he saved to buy Satoko's birthday present because he was the main suspect of his aunt's murder. What do you think about that?
Well, I heard that the culprit was some kind of drug addict.
What do you think about that? Maybe I shouldn't say this, but I believe Satoshi-kun is the culprit. The drug addict was probably a decoy Grandma arranged.
I've suspected as much. That guy appeared out of nowhere. I didn't understand it at the time.
So he was a decoy?
I'm pretty sure.
Why do you think that, though?
The police were investigating the case, and Satoshi-kun was their primary suspect, wasn't he? If he was going to be demoned away, she didn't want the police to continue the investigation, I guess. What Kimiyoshi just said is very interesting. He's perfectly correct. If the police continued their investigation, it would complicate things for whoever demoned away Satoshi-kun. Therefore, the hag came up with a decoy in order to bring an end to the investigation.
But fabricating a suspect can't be that easy, don't you agree?
The only person who can do things like that is Oryo-san.
I knew Grandma was very powerful in the underside of Hinamizawa, but I never knew she was that powerful.
I'm sure you've heard quite a few rumors during the dam conflict. Didn't you also hear things directly? During the dam protests, I actually saw them issuing orders to my relatives. Like, destroy their heavy machinery. Or, can we set up a checkpoint to blockade their construction vehicles? They set free their comrades from the police by coming up with alibis, destroying or forging evidence. I had seen relatives do those things, as well as the hag calling in counselors to the house to protest. As a child, I was pretty impressed, but when I thought back, it was more than that. Nope. She was truly the mastermind who controlled the underside of the world. You've heard about the kidnapping case of the grandson of the Minister of Construction, right?
So it was really a kidnapping, huh? I heard the grandson was demoned away and then found in the middle of the mountains in Takatsudo or Yagauchi.
That was at Oryo-san's command. The minister promised to stop the dam construction, and the grandson was released. All the top people in the ex-Guardians know that.
I guess I was right in the middle of it when I guess I was right in the middle of it when it was happening, but I didn't notice. The hag, the three families, and the ex-Guardians are truly magnificent, huh? How terrifying.
Kimiyoshi finally realized the situation he was in, and he was answering my questions. That made me happy, but the more Kimiyoshi told me the truth, the more I realized Satoshi-kun really was dead. That made me very sad.
Who actually demoned away Satoshi-kun?
I don't know. We were never to ask who actually executed Oryo-san's orders. He was right. That was how the system worked. And so, that was a bad question.
Whoever it was did a great job, because his body hasn't been found. That's not easy.
Putting aside who actually killed him, it is possible Oryo-san has helped to get rid of the body. You know about the well farther down from here? The one used to dump bodies, don't you?
Yeah, I do. It's a lot safer to dump a body in the well than to bury it somewhere in the mountains.
Whoever disappears becomes a sacrifice to calm the anger of Oyashiro-sama. That was the rule of this game. Therefore, the bodies must never be discovered. That's why the bodies had to be dumped somewhere nobody could find them. It's very possible that the well was used for that.
Then Satoshi-kun is at the bottom of that well? I grabbed a flashlight and headed to the huge cave with all the cells. As I turned on the lights in the cave, Mion noticed me and gave me a worried look. I ignored her and headed to the cell in the back. I was still very impressed by how the well was hidden. It was almost artistic. I shone the flashlight at the bottom of the well. I had no way of knowing how deep the well was. The light of the flashlight wasn't strong enough to reach the bottom. I inhaled, then screamed into the well. Satoshi-kun! Satoshi-kun! Okay, that's just dumb. I thought she was actually gonna climb down the well. If she's dead down there, he can't respond. Satoshi-kun's name echoed again and again. It was obviously a very deep well. I thought of climbing down using the wedges on the wall. But with the flashlight hanging from my neck, I couldn't light my footing properly. And even if there was enough lighting, I didn't even know if the wedges were sturdy enough. It'd be like committing suicide. Satoshi-kun was at the bottom of this well. That's when I felt it. A warm hand rubbed my head for sure. Uh-oh. Shion. You finally found me. Okay. Satoshi-kun. 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 I've been looking for you for so long. I'm sorry I couldn't find you while you were still alive. Sorry. I'm sorry. It's not your fault, Shion. There was nothing you could have done before I was killed. But you did everything you could to do after I was dead. Satoshi-kun, I want to join you. I'm coming right now. I'm going to jump, so please catch me. Satoshi-kun smiled bitterly. I was saddened to see him reject me. Shion, I'm happy that you found me. But you are alive, Shion. It's so important to be alive. You can't waste it. If you aren't here, I don't want to live. I want to be with you, Satoshi-kun. I want to be close to you. I want you to rub my head again. I want to spend time with you. I'll be a good girl. I want to be with you. Live. Do I have to? Live and enjoy your life, okay? What's so fun about living alone? You'll find out, so long as you're alive. To live. I will live. I will live. The eerie well now felt warm. I wasn't allowed to go down to the bottom, but the edge of this well was the place where you and I could meet. There's literally a ladder. What were you talking about with the wedges? Like, okay, whatever. I guess there's not supposed to be a ladder there. Mion. Satoshi-kun. I found him. He's at the bottom of the well, isn't he? I think so. I can't think of anywhere else he'd be. Mion started to sob. You weren't there when Satoshi-kun was killed, were you? No. If you were there, would you have begged Grandma to forgive him? Yes. I would have begged her to let him live. Liar. Huh? You liar! Okay. On that day, a year ago, I had just recalled how cruel Mion was then, when she forced me to rip out my nails, acting in her role as the successor. Even if she was there when Satoshi-kun was killed, she wouldn't have stopped being the successor. Satoshi-kun was brought to the torture room. When he saw Mion, I'm sure he thought she would save him. Even as he heard the family head read out his death sentence, I'm sure he looked at Mion and believed that she would save him. He believed Mion was acting that way only because she was with her relatives. He believed she would help him, but she didn't do anything. He was strapped to a restraining device, yet she still wouldn't do anything. Mion was cruel. Mion? Isn't it about time to help me? I see. I get it. You're with the rest of the family members, so you can't show even a hint of compassion. That sucks. I can't do Shion's crying, I'm sorry. Help him! Help him! Why? Why didn't you help him? You saw him looking at you, begging to help him. Didn't you? Why didn't you help him? Even when he was going through a rough time because of his awful aunt, you didn't help him! You pretended to sympathize, but you didn't help him! You ignored him! He was cornered because you didn't help him! I tried to support him! Even when you didn't protect him from killing his aunt, I did! I sacrificed myself to fight for him! 3 nails were nothing! But it wasn't enough to rescue Satoshi-kun. I couldn't help him. Do you know why? Because I was Shion then. As Shion, I was kept away from Hinamizawa, and no one told me anything. I couldn't know anything. But you were different. You were Mion. You were right in the middle of everything, and you knew everything, and everyone told you everything. If I were you, I could have helped Satoshi-kun. I would have! But you were Mion. Give it back, Mion. That name isn't just yours. It's mine, too. Besides, it was mine to begin with, remember? I just let you be Mion, remember? It was mine. Give it back to me. Give me my name back. What are you talking about? What? It was yours to begin with? Was it? Seriously? I mean, okay. Maybe? I don't know. I I can't wrap my head around that. Is that true? Were they originally the opposite and then they switched one day and... Oh, the dragon tattoo, maybe? Like, they swapped for that one day, and from that day forward, Shion was Mion and Mion was Shion? Interesting. That's actually... How the fuck do I... How did I not remember that? That seems like a pretty major detail. Holy shit. Okay. Assuming it's even true, like, it's plausible, but we'll see. I can't stand that you even look like Mion! If I were Mion, then... I kicked the bars. I kicked them again and again. Mion curled up fearfully in the back of the cell, as if she were trying to prevent the bars from crashing down onto her. Okay. At least I wasn't too close to the end of the chapter. New tip. Notebook page 188. Let me guess, I get an achievement. Yep, achievement unlocked, tying your own noose. My god. Notebook page 188. After that, I joined a youth group in the search for Kimiyoshi. I went down the town council's phone directory and called to see if he had visited, then had the group split according to the circular notice divisions and sent them to search the town. Everybody seemed to be assuming they wouldn't find him, but since I knew they definitely never would, it was just bothersome to me. Even after midnight, they were all still enthusiastically looking for him. I bore to sleepiness while yawning. Then I heard somebody whisper. Last year, we did the same thing when Satoshi Hojo-kun went missing. The youth group was looking for someone who would never be found, just like last year. I was yawning because I knew this. Last year, there must also have been some people who were yawning and grinning on the inside. When did we stop searching last year? Do you remember? When Satoshi Hojo-kun was missing? No, what time was it? I guess that was around midnight. It was already 2 in the morning. Although they spent this much time searching for Kimiyoshi, they didn't do the same when Satoshi-kun went missing. After all, some people knew they wouldn't find him. They must have been sleepy. They must have said they should leave it to the police. Shit. I want to kill the people who said that. Interesting. Alright, continue. Alright. Oh, hey guys.
What? Me-chan, you didn't get much sleep either, did you? Did you?
Yeah. I went to bed at like 3. I'm a little tired. 3? Hey now, you can't keep staying up late.
You probably read the first volume of a manga, thought it was interesting, then read the entire series, didn't you? I understand, I've done that before.
What? Wait, is it about the mayor? He still hasn't been found?
Nope.
I went to the Furude Shrine to join the youth group in their search for the mayor. Since I knew there was no way he would be found, it was really boring for me. Well, just enduring sleepiness wasn't that bad. Not if you considered what Kimiyoshi had to go through last night. He had been hanging from the ceiling and couldn't even fall asleep or sit down, since he had to stay on tiptoes the whole time. Is he still alive now even? Christ. The teacher explained to us that the mayor had gone missing, and asked if we knew anything. A couple of people said some things, but they were irrelevant. To me, this issue meant nothing, but it was all my classmates were talking about. I observed Keiichi Maebara. I had no idea if any type of danger was drawing close to him. But maybe I'd call him again tonight, pretending to be Shion. I told him some outrageous stuff last night, so he panicked. But I was sure he'd calm down after a day. At that time, I heard a little girl's laughter. It was Rika Furude, the last survivor of the Furude family and their current head. However, she wasn't really treated as one. During the family councils, she'd often draw pictures or take a nap in the hag's bed. She wasn't even invited to last night's meeting. It was hard to believe such a little girl was responsible for part of the curse system. However, even though she wasn't in a respected position as the head of the Furude family, there were plenty of old people who worshipped her as the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama. I'd heard from someone that Rika Furude was rather odd, and seemed to behave as if she knew she was that reincarnation. Maybe Takano-san had told me that at the library when she was alive. When Rika Furude became worried about something, the elderly people who worshipped her would make arrangements. It was very similar to the Sonozaki family, and was also the same system as used for the curse. I wonder, does Rika Furude know anything about the deaths of Takano-san and Tomitake-san? What does she think of people sneaking into the ritual storehouse? Does she know who snuck in and what happened to those people? As the one managing the storehouse, it was possible that she noticed the intruders first. In fact, she was the only one who could have noticed it. She must have passed on that information, which was why the curse was executed. That foolish Keiichi turned the light on when we went into the ritual storehouse. That light switch could have been connected to some kind of an alarm. Rika Furude, the leader of the Furude family. Maybe getting to know her would be a good idea. As the leader of the Furude family, how much do you know about the incident? I asked her rather directly. It was hard to tell if she understood I was asking her in place of the Sonozaki family head, instead of as Mion Sonozaki.
Are you talking about Tomitake and Takano?
Rika answered. The news hadn't been made public, yet she knew about it. Although she looked immature, perhaps she truly was the head of the Furude family.
That's the curse of Oyashiro-sama.
I already know that. But it's not over yet, is it? There should still be 2 more. Have you heard about what will happen to them? I tried to be vague, to see how Rika Furude would react. I had been thinking that she had nothing to do with the underside of Hinamizawa, since she was always treated like a child. However, Rika had just said things about the incident which normal people shouldn't know anything about. That proved she belonged to the underside's network.
I don't think that matters anymore.
She answered the question about Tomitake-san and Takano-san fairly quickly, but took a little longer to answer this time. Did she have to think about it? Shit. The look on her face never changes. It's impossible to figure out what she's thinking. What do you mean? How can they get away with what they've done?
I think if they feel bad about what they've done, that should be fine.
Her response was unexpected, especially after seeing all the old people get so furious last night. To trespass in the ritual storehouse was blasphemy against Oyashiro-sama. The village elders had said those intruders deserved to die. Yet the leader of the Furude family, who protected the sacred storehouse for ritual implements, said that if they felt remorse for it, then that was fine. I recalled how people thought of Rika Furude's father during the dam conflict. Yes, her father was called an opportunist back then. He didn't agree with the Onigafuchi Guardians, who had resisted violently during the conflict. Like father, like daughter. I aggressively grabbed Rika Furude by the collar. Huh? What the heck are you talking about? You're pretty stupid. Just like your predecessor, aren't you? Is she still doing Mion's voice? I'm gonna assume. Well, they have basically the same voice, right? Like, technically speaking, so I'm not sure it matters. The Furude family must understand better than anybody how sacred the ritual storehouse is. How could the head of that family say such a thing? I laughed at myself. I was told the same thing by someone else and was now saying it to Rika. Don't you know how serious a crime trespassing in the ritual storehouse is?
It's a very important place for Oyashiro-sama, so nobody can go in without permission.
See, you know that. But those 4 people brought their filth in there.
What bad kitty cats? Meow.
That's right, bad cats. 2 cats have been caught and punished. There are 2 more.
Meow.
I swear to God, Rika. How do you think they should be punished? Tell me your opinion, as the head of the Furude family. Rika really didn't usually wear any expression whatsoever, making it impossible to tell what she was thinking. But while I grabbed her by the collar and stared at her, I could tell somehow. Rika was a little disturbed. I sensed she was trying to see what I was thinking in turn.
I want to forgive those 2 kitty cats.
Why should they get away with what they've done?
What are you trying to say?
That's a good question. So let me explain. Those 2 must offer compensation for what they've done. They have to clear away their sins. Otherwise, Oyashiro-sama won't stop being angry. Every crime must be punished appropriately. Do you understand?
Oyashiro-sama doesn't get angry even if someone enters the storehouse.
Huh? What are you saying?
The reason why nobody is allowed to see the ritual storehouse is because there are too many scary tools in there. I'm sure people would get scared if they saw them. That's why we don't let people in there. I'm sure those intruders were scared too. And I'm sure they feel bad about what they've done.
They're forgiven once they feel bad about what they've done? That's not for you to decide. That's what Oyashiro-sama decides.
I'm the shrine maiden of Oyashiro-sama, don't you know?
Of course I do. You aren't telling me that Oyashiro-sama told you he isn't angry, are you? Rika nodded yes without hesitation. I can't believe the lie she's coming up with. I'm not surprised. I'm shocked. Huh! That's why your parents died of the curse 2 years ago. Oyashiro-sama was angry because they didn't deserve to serve him. That's why he cursed your father.
Oyashiro-sama would never do that. My father didn't die because of the curse of Oyashiro-sama.
Bah! Am I really talking to the last shrine maiden of the Furude family? Obviously, Oyashiro-sama can't be at peace. You were supposed to worship Oyashiro-sama. How pathetic.
I don't know why you're so angry, me.
I realized. She was in a position to know as much as the other 2 family heads. As proof, she talked about this year's incident as though it was nothing. Yet she could feign ignorance with a serious face. She sure is something. She's even better than me. I slapped her a few times and pushed her to the floor. Rika, having tumbled downward, looked up at me with tears in her eyes. This all happened because you wanted to change the storehouse's lock to something that was easier for you, right?
That's true. The old one was too heavy, so I talked to Kimiyoshi and he changed it to a cheaper, lighter one.
If you left the heavy lock on, maybe that would have prevented them from trespassing. This is your fault too. Don't you forget that. Of course, the Kimiyoshi family, who actually changed the lock, is responsible for this too. That last part was something I added on a whim. I added it to connect Rika's story to the disappearance of Kimiyoshi. I wanted to pressure her psychologically by doing so. The head of the Kimiyoshi family had to pay for his crime. That's why he disappeared. The
The head of the Furude family has to pay for her crime too, you know. Rika was still on the floor, tears pouring down from her cheeks. Keiichi Maebara is the last one left. I suppose the Furude family will take care of him.
I don't know anything.
You don't need to know anything, do you? You just have to look worried. That's all it takes. That's how it is at our house, too. Anyway, good luck.
I don't...
Rika hung her head. She seemed to want to say something, but she was afraid that I might be rough with her again. I doubted Rika Furude was actually at the top of the curse system like the hag was. However, as one of the 3 family heads, she was a lot closer to the underside of Hinamizawa than I was. By now, that underside was well aware of Keiichi Maebara. I told the elderly leaders of the village yesterday in the meeting that Keiichi Maebara was the last one remaining. I just told the head of the Furude family the same thing, if threateningly. If my threat was effective, the curse of Oyashiro-sama should very soon fall upon Keiichi Maebara. And at just the right time, I would grab my enemy right as he took my bait. If the assassin came from the Furude family, this girl would have committed the same sin as the hag. When that time came, I wouldn't hold back. I was going to make sure she suffered, and then kill her. I've heard of a torture technique where you pound dozens of nails into a victim's fingers. I already found a restraining table and the tools for it. When the time comes, I'll pound nails into your fingers. That gruesome anticipation radiated from my eyes and scared Rika even further. I wonder how Kimiyoshi is doing. He's probably dead. I doubt he died from tiptoeing all night, but sometimes a human can go very easily. He already told me everything I wanted to hear, and he doesn't know anything else anyway. On top of that, he was responsible for spreading the infection that was the curse system of Oyashiro-sama. His sins are very heavy. I really liked Uncle Kimiyoshi. He had always been so kind. The hag was so tough on her relatives, and that's why he was extra nice to me. When we talked yesterday, I was so happy to hear him say he would forgive Shion. He even said he would fight the hag to save her. That made me very happy. Don't worry. If Shion-chan feels bad about what she has done, she won't be demoned away. Leave it to me. I felt such warmth inside of me. I almost shivered. I was so happy, yet so very sad. For he continued to say that Satoshi-kun deserved to die. He said those nice things because he wanted to make Mion happy, since she was worried about Shion. Satoshi-kun deserved to die because he was a member of the cursed Hojo family, but Shion-chan of the Sonozaki family did not. That's what he meant. In other words, to the leaders of the village, including Kimiyoshi, members of the Hojo family are more contemptible than insects. They didn't care if they lived or died. Their sin was not only that they despised the Hojo family so, but also that they let that hatred infect the rest of the village. Therefore, everyone in the village deserves to be a victim of the curse of Oyashiro-sama. Kimiyoshi and the others created an environment that excused murder in that name. If that was so, if Takano-san and Tomitake-san hadn't committed the serious crime of trespassing in the ritual storehouse, then oh hi! Okay. Teppei, you suddenly have a sprite. You didn't in Tatari Goroshi. You're only being mentioned here, and this is where you get a sprite? Okay. Fine, whatever. Then Satoko Hojo, the last survivor of the Hojo family, and Teppei Hojo, who has been hiding in Okinomiya, might have been the victims. Satoko Hojo. She was always around Satoshi-kun. She expected Satoshi-kun to help her every time she cried. She was one of the people who cornered him. If Satoko wasn't that much of a burden, Satoshi-kun wouldn't have killed his aunt. Okay. Somebody told Satoshi-kun to commit that murder, and to hide the evidence of his connection to the mastermind, Satoshi-kun was demoned away. That's what Oishi thought. If Satoshi-kun hadn't killed his aunt, maybe he wouldn't have been chosen as last year's victim. Because the commands were vague, after all, the curse of Oyashiro-sama fell upon the Hojo family as a whole. It didn't matter which member of the family died. His aunt had a terrible reputation in the neighborhood. She didn't communicate with her neighbors, she was always throwing fits, and there was nothing nice about her in any way. Even if Satoshi-kun didn't kill her, the curse would have fallen upon her sooner or later. Their aunt was the first victim. There needed to be another Hojo to calm the curse. According to a rumor, their uncle was living somewhere in Okinomiya with his lover. However, Okinomiya was a little different from Hinamizawa. The Sonozaki family was powerful there as well, of course, but it would have been more difficult in Okinomiya to demon someone away. So naturally, Satoshi-kun and Satoko, who were still in Hinamizawa, became the targets. Which one should be cursed? That was simple. Satoko, of course. She was snobby and lacking in manners. Everyone in the village, in the neighborhood, liked Satoshi-kun, even if he was the son of the Hojo couple who betrayed the village during the dam conflict. Compared to Satoko, he didn't deserve to die. Therefore, the actual victims of last year's curse should have been his aunt and Satoko. But that didn't happen. Satoshi-kun was suddenly all alone. His mean aunt and mean uncle were gone. His sister, who was a burden to him all his life, was gone too. Satoshi-kun was such a nice person. He'd be sad, although he'd realize he was finally free. But time would heal him. I'd even help. He didn't have to live in his house in Hinamizawa. There were plenty of empty rooms in the apartment block where I lived. I could find him a part-time job too. He didn't need to go to school in Hinamizawa. He could go to school with me in Okinomiya instead. He wouldn't know his way around, or really anything about the school there, so I'd be with Satoshi-kun all the time. I'd show him a shortcut to school, we'd go shopping, and I'd teach him many different things. What an unbelievably happy ending. Satoshi-kun had been suffering so much, and I'd been pushed away all my life. But we would finally be happy. I enjoyed these sweet delusions, but I didn't have any more time to waste. I was sure there were plenty of old people who had been trying to get hold of Oreo all morning, and who were going to try to catch me after I got home from school. Actually, the phone had been ringing constantly while I enjoyed my happy thoughts. When I answered the phone, I casually listened and replied. As I planned, Keiichi Maebara is now known as the next curse victim within the underside of Hinamizawa. I also tried to let them know that the disappearance of the village chief had something to do with the fact that he changed the lock on the ritual storehouse's door. All the authorities in the underside came to realize the seriousness of trespassing in the storehouse. After all, one of the heads of the three families got punished. One of the phone calls was from Oishi. He had also heard about Kimiyoshi's disappearance, and he knew it had something to do with the changing of the lock. I'm impressed. He has some pretty good sources, but all he can do is catch whatever information he can get. There's no way for him to find out where it's coming from. I'd call Keiichi Maebara again later tonight. Some of the more aggressive villagers may have already started to take action around him. I'm sure that by now, Keiichi is feeling the danger that's coming toward him. I'd have to be careful that he doesn't get killed easily. If I can catch the enemy before they bit Keiichi, I can use him again as bait. Keiichi Maebara. I haven't known him for that long. He's funny, if not intelligent. He'll never replace Satoshi-kun, but I do think he's fun to be around. There's just one thing I don't like about him. He rubs my head far too often. His hand is as warm as Satoshi-kun's hand, which is why I can't stand it. But that's about it. Keiichi Maebara isn't Satoshi-kun's enemy. I don't hate him. He's fun to be around, but I wouldn't shed a tear for him if he became a victim of the curse. I won't prevent Keiichi Maebara from being killed, but I won't kill him myself either. I'd made arrangements for the curse to fall upon him, but I never told anyone to kill him. Well, I suppose I did tell Rika Furude to take care of Keiichi Maebara. Wait a minute. To avenge Satoshi-kun, I'm doing exactly the same thing as the hag did. I'm using the exact same system that killed Satoshi-kun. Keiichi Maebara. I'm from just using him. I told people to let the curse fall upon Keiichi, but I've been giving him appropriate warnings. I'm going to help him if he tries to live. If I catch all of my enemies, maybe I'll let him loose. He's different from Satoshi-kun. Satoshi-kun was tricked into killing his aunt, and was killed himself afterwards so there wouldn't be any evidence remaining. I won't kill Keiichi Maebara. That's how I'm different from the hag. Evening was turning to night. I had to get dinner ready. I had to eat so I'd have enough strength to take revenge. This place was far from the town. Oh my god, it's this place. It would even get isolated during winter because of the snow. It's not unusual for a household like this to have 2 or 3 refrigerators. There were plenty of groceries left in them. I was glad I didn't have to go grocery shopping. I could hear the chorus of the Higurashi. People often say that the sound of the Higurashi brings back memories. But for me, it's the exact opposite. I've only ever heard the sound of the Higurashi in Hinamizawa. Therefore, the sound of the Higurashi, to me, is Hinamizawa. The sound reminded me that I wasn't supposed to be here, that I couldn't be here. That was when I heard the doorbell. Because there was a good distance between the house and the gate, there was both a doorbell and an intercom by the ladder. It had a security camera, too. Something as modern as the security camera monitor in this old-fashioned kitchen looked rather strange. I turned the switch, but nothing appeared on the monitor. I tried to check the plug, but there were a bunch of cords going behind the refrigerator, so I couldn't even do that. The doorbell continued to ring while I tried to figure out if the monitor was broken or if I just didn't know how to turn it on. I only felt like answering the door depending on who it was. It'd normally be easier to pretend to be out, but that wouldn't help me. I was waiting for my enemies to show up. I couldn't just hide myself in that case. The hag was supposed to be sick and in an extremely bad mood. Are you home? I thought this was the fucking building where, those guys were keeping the kid in Hiyatsubushi. Oh well. I'd already sent word out that she didn't want to see anyone, so who could it be? I made up my mind and turned the intercom on. If it was someone unwanted, I could just turn whoever it was away. But I had to act normally so I wouldn't arouse suspicion. I had to act normally. Yes? Who is it?
Hello?
Hi, Rika. She didn't tell me her name, but I recognized her voice. Rika-chan, what are you doing here at this time of day?
I ran out of soy sauce, so could you share some with me?
Oh no, I am scared of what's about to happen. Soy sauce? I almost screamed, but I controlled myself. I took a moment to think about the situation. Hinamizawa was far from most stores, so sometimes neighbors would share seasoning and stuff with each other. The village sometimes got snowed in during winter, but the Furude Shrine was quite far from this house. It was rather odd for her to come all the way here on her bicycle just to get some soy sauce. Maybe she was using it as an excuse. Maybe there was something she wanted to talk to me about. So you didn't make those soy sauce posters? That makes them very confusing. That was when I noticed a piece of paper that was on the refrigerator door next to the intercom. Oh, that existed beforehand? Oh, I see. Okay. We still have plenty of homemade soy sauce in stock. Feel free to come to the Sonozaki house if you want some. The hag must have given that flyer to everyone. One of our relatives sent her a barrel of soy sauce. If you want some, bring a container. That's what the flyer said. I see. This would explain it. There was a handwritten note on the bottom of the flyer. The soy sauce is in the storage area under the floor. Give them as much as they want. There was a storage area beneath the floor. When I opened it, I saw a barrel of soy sauce, alongside a funnel and a ladle. I didn't want Rika to notice anything suspicious at this point. I decided to share the soy sauce with her. Sure. Did you bring a container?
I brought a soy sauce bottle.
Okay. Come on in. I'll be at the front door. As I headed there, I heard the doorbell ring again.
The gate is locked from the inside. I can't open it.
That's right. Sorry. I'll be right there. Just hang on. People didn't pay much attention to safety around here in Hinamizawa. People didn't think too much about locking the doors. But as someone who's lived in a town, I've always locked everything. To let Rika Furude in, I'd have to go outside.
Good evening.
Good evening. Rika smiled at me. She was holding a huge soy sauce bottle. She acted like I never yelled at her, got violent with her, or made her cry at all today. Or perhaps she came to curry favor, thinking that she angered me. I invited Rika to the front door. I told her to wait for a moment, and tried to take the bottle. But Rika took her shoes off and walked into the house with the bottle in her hands. Don't worry, I'll get it for you. Why don't you wait there?
I'm pretty good at pouring soy sauce into a funnel, you know?
She looked at me as if begging. I guess she wanted to pour the soy sauce into the bottle herself. I didn't want her to come in the house, but I suppose I didn't want her to wait there alone either. If she came to the kitchen with me, I could keep my eyes on her. And so, I brought Rika to the kitchen. We walked down the hallway. I only heard my footsteps. I stopped suddenly and turned around to make sure Rika was following me. Rika bumped into me. Sorry. Made sure she was right behind me and started to walk again. Tap, tap, tap. Tip, tip, tip. Tap, tap. Tip, tip. Rika must have been having fun matching her footsteps to mine. Even when I quickly sped up, our footsteps matched perfectly. Tap, tap. Tap, tap. Tip, tip. Tip, tip. Tap, tap, tap. I stopped suddenly. Tip, tip, tip. Tip. Rika stopped suddenly too, after taking an extra step. When I turned around, Rika smiled at me. Our footsteps matched perfectly, and when I stopped suddenly, I heard her extra step. I've experienced such footsteps before. It was making me feel uncomfortable. But now, although her footsteps sounded the same as the other ones I'd experienced, I saw her when I turned around. That was the difference between them. I left the storage door open so we could see the soy sauce barrel. The memo said she can take as much as she wants, but I wasn't sure there was enough left. I crouched down and tried to open the lid of the soy sauce barrel. Even when I crouched down, I could hear Rika's extra step. Good, there's plenty left. Take as much as you want. Oh, hi. That's a new sprite. When I turned around, Rika was very close to me. But, who was this? I saw Rika, but it wasn't Rika at all. It was like when I switched with my sister. The outside was the same, but the inside was different. Did Rika have a twin sister? I was confused for a moment. That was when Rika sprayed something from a small bottle into my eyes. Oh shit. Huh? Pepper spray? Jesus. I felt a terrible pain in my eyes, and suddenly tears poured out and my nose started to run. I couldn't stop sneezing either. As I stumbled around, covering my face, I then realized I was attacked. I shut my eyes tightly for a moment, then opened them again. Rika was about to grab my hair to drag me down onto the floor. When Rika saw me open my eyes, she sprayed at me again. I shut my eyes to avoid the spray, but my nose still breathed in the substance. I avoided the pain in my eyes, but the tears, the runny nose, and the sneezing continued. Shit. My brain isn't working quickly enough. However, when I finally understood that I had been attacked by Rika Furude, my brain started to grind into motion. Rika Furude knocked me on my back and got on top of me. I tried to escape from her by rolling on the kitchen floor. As I rolled, I hit an oven, a huge jar, and destroyed a pile of something on the floor as I fought back. But Rika didn't let go of me. She stayed on top and restrained me. She was sitting on my stomach, and I felt intense pain and pressure. She sure could fight well. I still couldn't see anything. Rika had the upper hand. My eyes were shut, and I was in real danger. Oh boy. As I tried to blink, I saw Rika's expression. I didn't know Rika Furude all that well. I only knew her from the few times we met when I went to school as Mion, and from the things I've heard from other people. But as far as I knew, there was no way Rika Furude would ever do something like this. This is just impossible. Impossible. Impossible! No, I can't fill my head with that word. I have to calm down and figure out what to do next. Shit. I'm too much of a mess to even think. tried to peek at her face again. She still had the spray bottle in one hand. What I didn't expect was the thing in her other hand. How could I mistake it for anything else? It was definitely a knife. A syringe, never mind. When Rika realized I'd regained my eyesight, she pointed the spray bottle right at me and let loose with it. I shut my eyes tightly and tried to ignore the pain. But that was when, even though I was blinded, Rika made a miscalculation. She had sprayed at me from such a close distance that she inhaled the substance as well. I heard Rika sneeze, and realized that it was my chance. Even if I couldn't see, I knew she was right there. I hit Rika's face a few times. When I felt Rika's weight shift, I escaped. Oh, Jesus. Nice expression, Shion. My god. I then got my stun gun ready. Rika must have inhaled just a little of the spray. She wasn't sneezing anymore, and was glaring at me instead. Hey! Are you picking a fight with me? You want me to wreck you? What is that on the thing behind her shoulder? That doesn't look like anything but blood, really. What is that? It wouldn't be blood yet, would it? Rika's expression didn't change, but I was sure she was disappointed that her surprise attack was a failure. Rika flinched just a little, but she was still holding the spray bottle and aiming it at my eyes. She was trying to use the spray first, and then give me the shot. I didn't know what was in that syringe, but it was a clear liquid. It had to be something bad. She wanted to take my eyesight, get on top of me, and then give me the shot. If whatever was in the syringe took a while to take effect, I might have the chance to fight back and seriously injure Rika. But Rika's surprise attack told me that just being injected was more than enough. In other words, whatever the effect, it would start to work immediately. Therefore, I wouldn't be able to fight back against her. It'd probably either knock me out or kill me. In any case, what I had was equally deadly. My stun gun was very powerful. Just one shot would be all it took. What happened before was proof of its power. Rika knew my stun gun was a lot more powerful than her spray. She was being extremely cautious. Hey, what do you think you're doing in my house, huh? If you aren't moving, then I'll come to you! I threw a pile of newspapers at her. The pile wasn't tied together, so the newspapers flew all over Rika. I jumped at her immediately after. I shoved my stun gun into her, and pulled the trigger. Rika spasmed and fell to the floor. You fool. Hesitating in a fight where a single blow wins? Only amateurs just glare at each other. You don't have a single clue about how advantageous the first strike is when a single blow can decide everything. The spray bottle rolled on the ground, but she still had the syringe. Rika was down, but I couldn't let my guard down either. I kicked her in the side and clambered on top of her. I took the syringe. I held Rika's arm down and gave her the shot. My actions could hardly be called gentle. I injected her violently. I injected everything that was in the syringe. Rika began to convulse. I stood back and watched for what would happen to her body. Of course, I still had my guard up. While I assumed that the drug would incapacitate her immediately, I didn't know exactly what kind of reaction she would have. Look at you! Did you really think you could defeat me? Think again! After a few more convulsions, Rika unsteadily got to her feet. That's ridiculous. How can she even stand? I looked at my stun gun. Damn it! The power was on the lowest setting! Maybe it had been readjusted when we were rolling around on the floor. I changed the setting to maximum. Rika turned pale and started sweating all over. I didn't know its exact effects, but if Rika had given me the shot, I'd be the one experiencing her symptoms. She looked really sick, so obviously she must have been feeling awful too. She couldn't even focus. She was very wobbly and had her hand on the wall. She'd lost her balance, and it must have been hard for her to even stand. She didn't look so brave anymore. Rika wobbled some more and moaned as if she was about to throw up. Oh!
On you.
Rika looked scary as she moaned and wobbled, but at the same time, she looked kinda funny too. Certainly, she hadn't even dreamed she'd be getting the shot herself. As the man sows, so shall he reap. That's what you get. This is funny. So funny. But please don't throw up here. Go to the bathroom, okay? I'm going to enjoy how long it'll take for you to die. Oh, but that means I can't torture you later, huh? I've been planning to use the nail table on you. So either you choke on your own vomit and die, or I pound nails into all 10 of your fingers. I wonder which it'll be. Okay, I know. Let's move to the underground shrine storage. I'll put you to sleep so I can move you there, okay? I walked up to Rika, my stun gun making popping sounds. When Rika saw the sparks from the stun gun, she moved to grab a huge kitchen knife. Oh no. Oh, are you still trying to fight? That makes things more fun. I have so much I want to ask you. I would suggest you back down. Well, actually, even if you do, you'll go through the same misery anyway. Sorry, but I'll refuse that invitation, you torture maniac. What she said wasn't anything I'd expect to hear from the Rika I knew, but I didn't hesitate. I had the advantage, so I didn't need to worry. Besides, this was coming from the last survivor of the Furude family, one of the 3 families. That sudden change somehow felt natural. Compared to what the 3 families have done, this is nothing. Thank you for that high praise, though. I should be proud of myself, huh? So, are you seriously thinking about fighting me with a knife in that condition? You can't even stand straight. You're right. Like you said, I'm at my limit. But if that means getting captured and tortured to death by you, then sorry, I'm taking my leave. Taking your leave? Pfft, try it if you can. It was clear who held the advantage here, but despite that, an odd thrill filled both of us. We lost our minds wasn't a fitting phrase for the people of Hinamizawa. It was a feeling of release, when modern demons could stop pretending to be human. Yes, this was a mad banquet of demons, with the savoring of blood and devouring of flesh. Attended by the head of the Furude family and the head of the Sonozaki family, the old families whose blood is closest to the madness of the demons. I stood in front of the hallway so as to block her escape route. The windows had grates and the door had a safety chain on it. If she turned around, I'd hit her with my stun gun. In this situation, what did Rika Furude mean by taking her leave? Rika got her knife ready. I expected her to aim at my stomach when she attacked, so I took a stance with my stun gun ready in my hand. Rika, however, suddenly turned around. I carefully watched to see what her next move would be. Rika put the handle of the knife to the wall and held it in place. What was she doing? Goodbye, torture maniac. I won't give you the satisfaction of killing me. Rika reared her head back and slammed her throat against the knife on the wall. My god. Her blood splattered all over. Rika bent backwards repeatedly and let the knife slash at her throat. Again and again. Her neck and chest were dyed red. I'd always thought blood was darker, but her blood wasn't dark. It was so bright. I must have been confused, but it looked pretty. After doing this several times, Rika turned around. Her eyes were wide open. She didn't look like she was from this world. Her face looked like something both living and dead, both real and artificial. It was very scary, eerie, and above all else, pale. Although her face looked unearthly, it was a very appropriate face for a demon. I didn't have a mirror, so I couldn't tell, but I was sure I looked exactly like her. Motorcycle gun, man, now's not the time. Rika continued to violently slash her throat. It reminded me of someone trying to break a huge piece of ice with an ice pick. That was exactly what Rika looked like. The white chips of ice coolly flying through the air. What I saw before me was a beautiful sight. Every time Rika struck her throat, Tiny drops of red blood splattered the boring white world around her. It was like a dance. A dedication dance by the final head of the Furude family. The demon's last dance of dedication to Oyashiro-sama. Upon seeing that literally blood-curdling dance, I let out a fierce roar. I had no reason to do so. I was howling like an animal. We were like animals trying to kill each other, both getting covered in blood. And, inevitably, as one convulsed in a pool of that blood, the other threw back its head and howled. My body shivered with the joy I felt inside of me. This was death, the most final of judgments, and it was right before me. The demons howled, screamed, and roared. The roars faded, and my voice started to change from the voice of a demon back to that of a human. As a demon, I roared, but as a human, I sneered. Rika was covered in blood from her neck down. Her blood was pouring out, making a little noise. Rika was still staring into my eyes. I stared back at her. I wasn't sure they were still eyes, though. They were no longer human eyes, but the eyes of the dead. Rika's corpse, vomited blood from her mouth and nose and smiled. Then, she dropped the knife. She stuck her hands out and turned her palms upward. Her wiggling fingers reminded me of an insect's legs. Those fingers reached for her own throat. I'd never seen anything like it. I'd never seen anybody do this before. Because Rika was scratching her own throat. She was ripping her own throat apart. Maybe that wasn't a good description. She was trying to rip out the inside of her throat through the opening she'd made with the knife. Her fingers found the biggest tear. Rika smiled. At least that's what I would have called it if she were alive. She ripped open the tear in one tug. Upon hearing my scream, Rika died and fell on her face into the pool of blood. That was it. She didn't get up again to show me her throat. I stepped back from Rika Furude's body and bumped into the wall in the hallway. Hurrah! This isn't a voiced line, so yeah. I roared again in admiration of the ritual dance of dedication of the head of the Furude family. Joy ran through my body, and my blood rushed through my veins. I won! I won! I defeated her! I then realized I'd disposed of the heads of the three families, the core of the curse of Oyashiro-sama. Everything was finally exposed. The curse of Oyashiro-sama and its masterminds were all exposed. I disposed of the leaders of the three families, who all killed Satoshi-kun. The head of the Sonozaki family died of a heart attack. She was at the bottom of the well, along with a wheelchair. I apprehended the head of the Kimiyoshi family. He'd continued to tiptoe until he died. The head of the Furude family died in a way that was perfect for the final head of the three families of Onigafuchi. I did it. I accomplished my mission. I defeated all the masterminds who killed Satoshi-kun with the curse. Every one. Satoshi-kun, you were powerless. You didn't have the means to fight back. Those evil people simply sneered while they let you die after marking you as a member of the cursed Hojo family. I will never, ever forgive them. They believed you deserved to die because you were one of the Hojos. As long as it was done by the curse of Oyashiro-sama, they didn't care how you were killed. I will never forgive those people for creating this world. What could I have done to save you, Satoshi-kun? I couldn't save you. Shion Sonozaki couldn't do anything else at the time. If I was Mion, not Shion. If I was Mion that day, I could have saved you. Mion could have saved you. That's right, I remember now. Shion. She said she wanted to eat red snapper sashimi that day. I was supposed to eat that. But Shion pouted and cried. That was why I let her switch just for that night. I did it to make her happy, like a big sister would. So yeah, you were switched at one point, probably because of the tattoo. Shion was never treated well, so I felt bad. That was it. I was being a good sister. That was it. When morning came, the world had been turned upside down. and it had remained so until today. We weren't twins anymore. The one with the demon was Mion, and the one without the demon was Shion. What was that supposed to mean? Wait, Mom, listen! I'm Mion, not her! You can tell us apart, right, Mom? Look, can't you tell I'm Mion? Come on, everyone, tell me I'm Mion. I'm Mion! Don't call me Shion! I'm Mion. I am! Ooh. Then I realized. You knew, didn't you? That the relatives weren't gathering for a simple party that night. You knew! No, I didn't! I really didn't know! Huh? How can you say that? You were so persistent that day. You said you'd never eaten red snapper before, so you really wanted to try it. You never gave up asking me. I really didn't know. I didn't know. If I had known, I wouldn't have said that. Oh, sure. You were always jealous of me, always looking at me with those foxy eyes. That was why I switched with you every once in a while. But you weren't satisfied with just that. You became even more jealous. And that night, you knew what was going on and took Mion from me. You took Mion from me! Give Mion back! I'm the one who's Mion. I am Shion Sonozaki. You were Shion this whole time. Don't call yourself Mion, you imposter! I kicked the bars of the cell repeatedly while I roared. Compared to my roar, the metallic noise of the bar sounded like the cry of a little puppy. I had been convinced by something so stupid. The tattoo of the demon was just a way of telling us apart. Even without that tattoo, I am Mion. That's right, I am Shion Sonozaki. I gathered my hair and put it in a ponytail with the yellow band that Mion used all the time. Since I didn't feel my hair on my neck, I felt like I could think more clearly now. Two Mions looked at each other through the iron bars. According to our sibling rules, that was never to happen. Yes, there was only one Mion and one Shion. There could never be two of either at the same time. Shion, let your hair down! I am Mion, and Mion is here! You were never Mion, so don't pretend to be me ever again. Do you hear? I said, do you hear? If you do, answer me! Answer me, Shion! I took myself back on this day. Shion admitted she was Shion. How wonderful it is to be Mion. I feel great. I can think clearly now. Because, after all, Mion is capable of anything. Unlike you, Shion. How dare you pretend to be Mion? Do you have any idea? Huh, Shion? Yes, sis. Shion called me Sis. And so, I was Mion. Ah! The demon who had been asleep deep inside of me was finally allowed to wake up. The demon roared. My whole body shivered to express its joy. Shion, you committed a great sin. You were Mion until now. You were in a powerful position as Mion of the Sonozaki family, yet you didn't even try to rescue Satoshi-kun. You had millions of chances to save him, but you chose not to do anything. I won't forgive you. I'll never forgive you. I could have saved Satoshi-kun. You took him from me and you killed him. I'll never forgive you for that. Shion was shaking on the other side of the bars. I will kill you. I'll kill you in the best possible way. Starting today, I'm going to think the best, most gruesome way to kill you. Shion, you better spend every minute fearing what's coming to you. I won't just kill you. I'll make sure your death is long and miserable. And after you're dead, I'll throw you into the well. You better apologize to Satoshi-kun when you get there. This is what you get for pretending to be me. Do you hear me? That's your sin. I can't do the screams. Like, if it's actual talking, that's one thing. Lordy lord. God, the chapter's not over. I have to end the episode, though. Like, oh my god. This chapter, I've said it before, I'll say it again, it's really good. That was the scene with Rika and her knife suicide. That's a scene that's been on my mind basically the entire playthrough. Not just Meakashi, but like all of the visual novels. Yeah, and it was even worse than I remembered. It was even more gruesome. Sure, we didn't actually see it, like in how it was in the anime, but still, it was pretty bad. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this episode, guys. If you liked it, then be sure to press the like button, and if you didn't like it, then fuck you too. Remember to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date on all my videos and stuff. And as always, my name is Godzi, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.